You're invited to join our exclusive monthly webinar brought to you by the Business of Aesthetics community. Don't let this chance slip through your fingers. Secure your spot now for a game-changing experience. Register for free on our homepage at www.businessaesthetics.org and get set to transform your strategies.
Before we dive into our main topic, let's kickstart your day with a 3-minute marketing tip.
Hi, I'm Ryan Davies, Digital Marketing Advisor with Equal Marketing, here with another marketing tip for the Business of Aesthetics community. One of the other big things we always get asked about here, I hear it all the time, Google Ads or just Google SEO. How much should I be putting into Google Ads and what kind of a return can I expect? What budgets do I need? There's so many questions, but the first thing is the fundamental difference between Google SEO and Google Ads and which one is more effective. Well, when we talk about Google Ads, it's an ad campaign and you're purchasing. Depending on the market you're in, it can get just insanely expensive and continue to grow over time as more and more players come in, because it's really a supply and demand thing. The lower the supply, the higher the price for the ads. That what makes Google so powerful and making over $250 billion a year in terms of their revenue from Google Ads. It really comes down to that fact of they want you to buy ads, and they make SEO so difficult in order to force you to buy ads and continue to raise the price. Well, if you've got a really strong SEO presence, great website, technically sound, very fast, great mobile presence, good content, expertise, authority, trustworthiness showed, lots of quality backlinks, your name, address, phone number, or NAP profile, score is very high, all of these things, a lot of great Google reviews, and they're on display. There's so many elements that go into making it up, and that's why it's so hard. But if you're doing that and you're working at it, it ends up being this thing that month over month and year over year, you're ranking at the top and you are getting a totally unfair advantage. 95% of websites get zero free traffic from Google. Again, 95% get zero free traffic. So if you're in a room and there's 20 of you, so you and 19 competitors, one of you is getting 95% of the traffic that comes in. The other 19 of you are getting the scraps or none at all in terms of that, because of that ranking at the top. So people end up then saying, great, so I have to buy Google Ads to get to the top and buy my parking space. But today we're more sensitive to ads than ever. And it really shows that distrust. When someone goes to Google and we see them ranking at the top organically, we know that Google's vetted that page. It's probably got the information we're looking for. They're experts in what they do, and we trust them. When we see an ad, we necessarily don't trust them. And now not only are you paying for that ad campaign, but typically to be able to get them to click the ad, you better have an offer or something really appealing to get their attention. So when you're doing that, now you're actually spending again, because you're losing your ROI on whatever you're offering to be able to get them to click the ad. So when you kind of put all this together, off the start, sometimes it's 3 times, 5 times cheaper to be able to do SEO. Over the years, 7 times, 10 times cheaper SEO over the Google Ads strategy. We have clients we've worked with that are, in the 12 to 15 times less cost of customer acquisition cost than it is when they're actually buying ads. So it is such an incredible tool to be able to dominate SEO. But how do you leverage them together? Well, again, invest in SEO, develop that steady month over month, year over year, new flow of new patients that are coming in, that are focused, that have trust, that are going to just pick up the phone or click to call and really drive a lot of that high quality traffic you're looking for. Now, once you've done that and you invest in Google Ads, you're actually attacking a very more targeted approach. So let's say you've got Mother's Day coming up, right? You can create Google Ads that are going to target mothers, young adults, and fathers over the age of 35 and things along those lines that are going to show an ad that promotes specials, and they're going to be able to bring more traffic for that, right? So a special gift for the wife, for the mom, or whoever it is, to be able to take part in your practice and take part in one of your wonderful procedures. So it's things like this that are going to be a really great way to leverage Google Ads. But if you're already also dominating for SEO, you're up there twice. There's no way they're not clicking on you in that, right? So that is where you really dominate. But in order to do that, you really need to focus on that SEO first and foremost. So if you're curious, if you've already got a huge ad spend, if you're not sure what you're doing, if you're new and you're thinking, I got to get ads out there to get started, whatever it is, or just wondering, how am I doing with my SEO? Am I ranking well enough? Am I in that top 5% that's getting 95% of the traffic? Am I the one getting the unfair advantage? Or which of my competitors is it? So that way you understand where you're at And then we can also help develop a roadmap for you to get you to where you want to go into that top 5%, dominating, and then put together that pairing of the ad strategy with it to really be dominant for your practice. To do that, go to businessofesthetics.org/MSM. One of our digital marketing advisors would be happy to give you a roadmap to success, as well as a blueprint for where you're at today and how you're going to get to where you want to go. businessofesthetics.org/MSM.
Welcome to another episode of the Business of Aesthetics podcast, brought to you by our gold sponsors, Equa Marketing. Today, we're excited to hear from Naren Arora. Over to you, Naren.
Welcome to another captivating installment of the Business of Aesthetics podcast. I am Naren Arora, one of the co-founders and co-hosts of this awesome podcast you have been listening to for years and years as aesthetic practice owners, plastic surgeons, dermatologists, med spa owners, you name it. You have been listening to this podcast, so thank you for that. Before we immerse ourselves in the riches of today's episode, I wanted to express my profound gratitude to you, our incredible listeners from the US and all corners of the globe. Your willingness to embrace and share this podcast and your invaluable insights and questions is what keeps us going. So thank you for that. I have an amazing guest today, Dr. Rohrich. Am I pronouncing your name correctly, Doctor?
That's right. Rohrich. Yeah. That's
Rohrich. Perfect. He's a renowned plastic surgeon and very popular on the internet and around the world. Dr. Rohrich has his own podcast, which is very popular, very, very popular on social media. He also has a few gray hairs, if I can say so, that kind of makes him who he is and makes him perfect for today's topic. Today's topic is the making of a plastic surgeon. So let's have some fun, Doctor. How are you this morning?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. Thank you again for being here today. I consider it a privilege to have you on our show today. Let's start at the beginning. Who are you? Who is the kid that decided one day to be a plastic surgeon? Let's meet the kid first.
Yeah, the kid. Well, I grew up on a ranch in a farm in North Dakota, near Canada, in the middle of the USA, and I didn't know anything about medicine, didn't know anything about plastic surgery. In fact, there was no doctor within 100 miles of where I grew up, and that's what I think stimulated me to become a physician. And I didn't speak English till I was 6. It was a German-Russian community, but I always had a curiosity for science and getting beyond where I was. I knew that I needed to be someplace else than on a farm and a ranch.
So walk us through that. So I assume you finished high school and then...
Well, I went to high school, and of course there was 24 in my class. I was one of the few that actually went on to college, and then I got a degree, and then I went to medical school in Baylor and Houston, and then I went to the University of Michigan to do my plastic surgery training. So it was, and then that was another 6 years. So I did 4 years of medical school, 6 years of residency. Then I did a couple more years of fellowship, including going to Oxford to do craniofacial and pediatrics. And then I also did a hand micro plastic surgery training at Harvard at the Mass General. And then I came to Dallas about 30 years ago and really brought Dallas plastic surgery to UT Southwestern, the plastic surgery training program, which was a tiny program. And over a period of about 25 years, I made it the largest and the best plastic surgery training program in the USA and probably the world. It was phenomenal. And I love teaching. I love giving back. I love learning new things, teaching new things, and doing new things. And I think that's what stimulates all of us. I think it's in our genome that we should teach and give back. And that's why I love what I do.
That is amazing. So tell us about your journey. So you graduate from med school. Did you always know you want to be a plastic surgeon?
Well, not really. When I went to Baylor was the home of Michael DeBakey, kind of the father of cardiovascular surgery. And I wanted to be a heart surgeon. Everybody that goes to Baylor And Houston wants to be a heart surgeon. So I was on his service, and it was in his elder years. And one day he introduced me to Dr. Spira, who was a plastic surgeon, because we had finished early one day, and Dr. DeBakey introduced me to Dr. Spira, who's the chief of plastic surgery. And he happened to be doing a cleft lip, which is a hair lip. And Dr. Spira was this very innovative gentleman. And he said, scrub in. And I said, oh, okay. So I was like a third year medical student, and I scrubbed into this to do a cleft lip with Dr. Spira, who's this world famous plastic surgeon. And it changed everything. So as soon as I saw him transform this young 3-month-old into with a deformity into a normal looking person, I was caught. I was hooked for life. And I said, listen, I want to be that. I want to be a plastic surgeon. I want to help people get better, look better, feel better, and do better. And so I went from cardiac to plastic surgery and never looked back.
That's awesome. So you decided to be a plastic surgeon, and did you work for others? Were you in the hospital setting? Walk us through your early career.
Well, yeah, I mean, of course, I finished at Baylor, and then I went to the University of Michigan, which was really one of the leading plastic surgery training programs in the world at the time. Dr. Dingman, Dr. Graham, these are all very famous people in plastic surgery. And so I was very fortunate to become a plastic surgery resident at the University of Michigan. So I did, 6 years of training there. It was an integrated program. So actually it was fast track. So believe it or not, it really took, it takes 10 years to become a plastic surgeon. And I took 2 additional years for other things. But it's a long road. I mean, I think you have to have an incredible mindset of delayed gratification if you're going to become a physician and a plastic surgeon, because all my friends were mid-level lawyers, mid-level executives, and they're saying, are you really, it's just like my mother told me, she said, are you ever going to get a job? Because, you're training forever in medicine. And plastic surgery is probably the most intricate training because we operate from head to toe. So, I did toe to thumb transfers. I did free flaps. We made breasts out of tummy tuck tissue. We did everything. And then I was trained to do all those things. And so when I came to Dallas, we had a small training program in plastic surgery with a couple of residents, and I blew that up to having 6 residents per year, at Parkland at UT Southwestern. And it was a joy. We really took it from almost a nothing to the biggest and the best. And, it's tincture of time. And I think it requires focus, perseverance, patience, and then having a vision. I think the vision is the most important thing, because in medicine, if you don't have a vision and a focused purpose, you will fail. It's kind of like life. If you don't have a focus and a vision, all these things about I'm dreaming, and of course I always live the dream, but it's dreaming is one thing, but then you got to get out of bed and do it. That's right. The big thing. And most people don't do it. 99% of people, they dream, but they don't do it. Right. That separates that from the 1% that do it and actually become successful in whatever they do, like what you're doing. And so you've got to dream it, you got to do it, you got to focus, you got to persevere. And, with it comes the peaks and the valleys. And that's part of the success. There's no such thing as an upward trajectory. It's like this, as
right.
And many times people at every dip, they fail and leave, and you got to keep going. When you fail, it just means that you're just closer, one step closer to success.
Absolutely. And usually learn something from it, right? Usually a failure, there's a lesson there, something that you didn't expect.
I've learned more from my failures than my successes, because you always will learn more about why you failed, how you failed, and then what are you going to do to prevent that again? So every step you become stronger, you become better, and you become more determined to be the best you can be. And that's the key to life. Because, life isn't a dress rehearsal. This is not, best I know, you only go around once, so you have to give it your best. You have to, have the best gusto. So.
Absolutely. So when did you decide to, become a teacher, become an educator, and kind of walk us through the evolution that led to that?
Yeah. Well, we all grow up in an academic environment because the crazy thing in medicine, especially in plastic surgery, there's like 9,000 plastic surgeons in the United States, but only 200 or 300 are real teachers. In other words, that educate the others. So, I really think that giving back and teaching the next generation really is part of our genetic makeup. And I'm so grateful that I'm a plastic surgeon, first as a physician and a plastic surgeon, that I just felt the need to just help others to achieve their goal. And I love to teach, and I think that the big thing is when you teach, you selfishly learn more than what you give. So that's the secret in becoming an expert. I'm an expert plastic surgeon in facial rejuvenation and rhinoplasty, but I've taught it. I write about it. I operate, like I'm going to India next week and operating and going to Europe to lecture. But I get an inner gratitude in helping and teaching others to become better. And I think that's something that you maybe acquire, but a lot of it is coming from within, because a lot of people don't want to do that, and that's fine. But thank goodness somebody does, because I'm very grateful to my mentors, because you only get better from the mentorship you have in life. I mean, and though there are 5 people in your life that make a difference, if you really think about it. So you got to choose your friends wisely. There's only 5 people. Even if you include your parents, there's 5 people that will influence your life, and make sure they're positive influences, because, you can have negative ones, but you need to get them the hell out, the life suckers.
Yes, absolutely. Did you ever dabble in the business side? I know you run a big business, so I obviously.
Absolutely, I do. 100%. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, my small division of plastic surgery was like 250,000 in revenue, and it ended up almost being 30 million by the time I left. I mean, so, to succeed in medicine today, you've got to have no margin, no mission. So you got to know business. The business of medicine is essential to the business of success. If you don't understand the business of medicine, you will fail, because no matter how well intended you are, unless you're Mother Teresa, and have all that support, but you have to be able to do things you love to do, but they have to generate revenue so you can continue to do what you do, and you can expand it and help others. Absolutely. You have to become very, very facile in the business of medicine if you're going to succeed in all venues. I also am in a large private practice group now with 11 partners. And so you have to lead by example and lead by understanding the economics and business of medicine, which means you have to be able to understand the P&L sheet, expenses, and watch your revenue, watch your expenses more than your revenue, and really understand that. And the most important thing is hiring the right people to get them on the right track, to working on the right focus to get you to the right place. If you do that and you understand the economics of medicine, you will do well. And don't do crazy, silly stuff.
Right. So while we're on the topic of business, a young plastic surgeon starting out, and for some reason, either by himself or with a partner, decides to start his practice, what would you tell him or her in 2024?
Well, I would tell them that it's a wonderful opportunity to start medicine, but it's completely different. You have to surround yourself with a great lawyer, a great practice manager, a great CPA, a great financial counselor. Those 4 people are the integral part of your success. And then you have to learn to really do social media, because that is your pipeline to the public and the consumer. So you have to become very facile. You have to get your own website. The website now is just a guiding post to get to a launching pad, but the conduit to feed that is your social media. So you have to become very, very facile in the current social media. Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whether you like it or not, is still the number 1 media projection in the world. YouTube and LinkedIn, even Pinterest. I mean, you have to be able to understand each of these values, and they have to project who you are, what you are, and how they can influence you in your practice. And then you have to focus on targeting what you want to do, whether you want to do breast surgery, or I do rhinoplasty. And if you follow me on Instagram at Rohrich or on YouTube at Rohrich Knows Podcast, I focus on educating people to help them become a better you. And also I do that by having my patients talk about their surgery, their rhinoplasty, and show them early and late results. And the key today in medicine is people have to understand their own health. If you're going to get best health, you have to be a big partner in it. In the past, you could go to your GP or your family doctor. It's not that way anymore. The family doctor is Dr. Google, because at midnight, you're calling Dr. Google. Dr. Google is not a doctor. He's wrong over 70% of the time, and he's not going to get you anywhere. So that's why podcasts are great. YouTube channels are great because they can connect you with people that are really experts. But then you got to sort it out because, as you know, everybody's an expert on their Instagram and their website. Very few people are. So how do you tell if you're an expert? Well, it's pretty simple. First of all, number one is it's the 3 E's. They have to have experience, expertise, and have to show exceptional results. So how do you tell if they have experience? Well, they have to talk about it with great ease. They have to lecture about it and write about it. So you can look them up. You can see if they're lecturing. If they're lecturing other people, their peers, they're probably going to be an expert, and also they're going to have the experience. And the experience is when you can show consistently exceptional results time and time again. You look at their website, their video, you show hundreds and hundreds of facelifts or rhinoplasties, not just a one-shot thing. So those 3 things, experience, expertise, and exceptional results, and the ability to teach others, because the teachers that teach are truly experts, because guess who they're teaching? Their fellow colleagues. And, if you're not an expert, you're not going to, I wouldn't be going to India if I wasn't a world expert in rhinoplasty and facelifts. So those are just little cues that I think help the consumer today. And I have to tell you, at least in the United States, medicine is in transition because, like I said, you can't call your GP anymore because it changes with your healthcare plan, unless you have a concierge medicine doctor. So the most important thing, good doctors know good doctors. So like I spend an hour a day helping my patients find good doctors because I know the best physicians that are plastic surgeons that are in other fields, because that's what I do. I help my patients. I just helped one of my patients that I did a rhinoplasty on in New York find a back surgeon in New York.
No, that's brilliant. So you are a star. You are a star in social media, right? So tell us about how many followers you have and your journey. When did you get started and how did you get there?
Well, I was editor of the Journal of Plastic and Reconstructive Surgery for 18 years. And that's the number one journal in all of plastic surgery in the world. It's the world-class journal. And I took it from, a diamond in the rough and helped to make it really the pearl of plastic surgery. And it's fantastic. It's the best peer-reviewed journal in the world. And what we did, over a decade ago, there was no social media, and we started on Twitter, like everybody did. Twitter, which is, of course, an X now that Elon Musk has done, which is, I think he's done a great job, and Facebook. And so we said, wow, this is very powerful. Like I remember doing my first live Facebook feed, and I got like 10,000 viewers. And, in plastic surgery, you usually, when you go to a meeting, you probably have a couple of thousand at the most. So I said, wow, there's something going on here. This is pretty crazy. So that kind of sparked my interest. And then we eventually transitioned to Instagram. So I developed that. And then I said, it's probably time for me to do an Instagram page. So I have one now. I have a 1.4 million viewers or followers, I think. And then I have a TikTok too, and a YouTube channel, which, I've just started. And the common thread there is you want to provide information that's helpful and useful to others. And that's really what you want to do. You want to help others help themselves be better. And I think that's the most important. Just like this, you're helping educate people to be better, think better, make better life decisions. These are all things that I wish I could have learned.
Absolutely, doctor. Any final pieces of advice for young, mid-career, or even older plastic surgeons who really have something more to get done? I think you have done a lot.
I think, first of all, get the best training, surround yourself with great people, like I mentioned, those 4 people, and just do a great job in every patient you meet, because every patient you meet will send you tenfold number of patients. And give back. Those are the most important things. And of course, you must understand the business of medicine if you're truly going to be successful. It is a true must. It's not a potential or a maybe, it's a must. So, and above all, enjoy the journey.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Really, really, really appreciate spending time with you today and for your insights. I know it's a short episode, but I really think it's going to be one of our best. I also want to take a moment to thank our listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you. We cannot do what we do without you. So if you like this podcast, please share it with your friends on social media. Also, please don't forget to write a review on iTunes or Google Music. Your thoughts will help other doctors and practice owners find us. Till we meet again, I wish all of you an amazing week ahead.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Business of Aesthetic podcast series, brought to you by our gold sponsor, Equa Marketing. Would you like to join our growing group of aesthetic industry experts and get featured on the Business of Aesthetics podcast? Or do you know someone who would love to share their strategies for growth in the aesthetic business, providing quality patient care or their clinical expertise? Head over to www.businessofesthetics.org podcast show and apply to be featured as a guest on the show. Remember to subscribe to this podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, or wherever you listen. If you would like to engage with today's speakers or any of our past speakers, join our Facebook group or LinkedIn group by searching for Business of Aesthetics. Thank you, and have a great day.